$7 billion of Labor's new taxes. Bill Shorten would not explain how it will lead to fewer jobs, lower wages and less economic activity. I can tell you the true impact of Labor's policy on the housing market is to send the value of people's homes down and to send the cost of their rents up. And the Master Builders Association has said that it will lead to 32,000 fewer jobs and 42,000 fewer dwellings being built. Labor's plan for $34 billion of new superannuation taxes will mean it will be impossible for a woman who leaves the workforce for a few years to raise a child to come back and make catch-up contributions in those subsequent years. Labor's plan for higher income taxes will affect that worker who confronted Bill Shorten in Queensland just last week, when Bill Shorten wouldn't tell him that he had plans to increase the top marginal rate and his rate of tax to 49%. People who are running family businesses will see higher taxes under Bill Shorten, and Labor's electricity tax will also dramatically affect people's wages and the cost of their electricity. Last night, Bill Shorten missed the opportunity to explain the true impact of his $387 billion of new taxes. Secondly, in relation to the retirees tax, we know that it will affect more than 1 million Australian retirees. People have done nothing wrong except save for their retirement under the rules that the Labor Party have supported for 2 decades or more. And these people are being targeted by Labor's desperate tax grab. And what's worse is Bill Shorten is attacking them personally, saying that they're receiving a gift on behalf of other taxpayers. And indeed, the Labor Party forgets that Simon Crean, as the Shadow Treasurer, said that this was an important part of our tax system that supported those on low incomes and retirees. Again, the Labor Party is breaking 2 decades of bipartisanship on this issue by ruthlessly and shamelessly targeting retirees. And you've heard from Chris Bowen, if you don't like Labor's retirees tax, well, don't vote for them. That level of hubris and arrogance is unforgivable. And thirdly, we learned yesterday about Labor's socialist experiment. Its plan to nationalise our workforce, with taxpayers funding private sector workers with increased wages. I mean, the line and the queue outside Bill Shorten's office is growing by the minute from unions who are emboldened by this announcement by the Labor Party. Today it's the aged care workers unions. Tomorrow will be the disability support sector unions. Then it'll be the retail unions, all who want a taxpayer-funded handout that Bill Shorten has promised them. Well, the last time Bill Shorten promised this was during the term of the Rudd-Gillard governments, and the Auditor General called them out. And an independent review found that this was just a means to boost union membership. It was an unconscionable taxpayer-funded union slush fund. And here we go again with the Labor Party. There are so many questions that Bill Shorten is refusing to answer. Who will determine the size of these pay rates, wage rises? What happens in 8 years' time when that $10 billion runs out? Is the taxpayer on the hook forever? Other questions is, who's next? Will it be the retail workers and their unions? Will it be the aged care sector and their unions? Will it be disability support? And why is the taxpayer funding the private sector? Why would somebody in the private sector ever give someone a wage rise if they knew that the Labor Party were going to use taxpayer funds to do it instead? They're the real questions that the Labor Party need to answer. This is clearly policy on the run from Bill Shorten. because when he was asked about it yesterday, he said, we're starting first with the childcare sector. And then we saw Anthony Albanese this morning saying, giving hope to other sectors, saying, I can't announce this morning who's next, but, you know, he was giving hope to other sectors that would be supported here by the Labor Party. And then you had O'Connor from the Labor Party, Brendan O'Connor, say today, oh, this is a one-off with the childcare. So you can't even get Brendan O'Connor, Anthony Albanese and Bill Shorten on the same page. The reality is this is a big Labor socialist experiment. It will turn the Australian economy on its head. We're going to get the taxpayer funding private sector wages. Last time it was done, it was a union slush fund designed to boost union membership. The Australian people should just remember one thing. When Bill Shorten increases taxes, he's doing it to support his union mates. He can't manage money, so he's coming after yours. Are there any questions?
You spoke about the debate last night. Did you agree with the audience who awarded it to Bill Shorten?
I think Scott Morrison did really well, and Bill Shorten didn't answer the questions. That was the key point. Bill Shorten has not answered key questions about his policies, even though 100,000 Australians have already voted and more are voting today. Bill Shorten owes it to the Australian people about the cost of change. We know that the Australian economy is growing faster than it did when Labor was last in office. We know that unemployment is lower than when Labor was last in office. We know that business investment is stronger than when Labor was last in office, and we know that the budget is now back in the black and back on track. And what Scott Morrison said last night was absolutely right. That you vote Labor once, you end up paying for it for a decade, and it's taken us some 12 years to get the budget back into the position it is today. That was really challenging, with difficult decisions made by the coalition. The Labor Party can't manage money, so they're coming after yours.
Next debate's coming up in a few days' time on Friday. As you mentioned, nearly 123,000 people have already pre-polled. Why should people, considering pre-polling, wait? What more could they learn from another debate if we didn't get as much information from last night?
Well, Bill Shorten's been running from those debates with Scott Morrison. Scott Morrison wants them on prime time and on numerous channels, and Bill Shorten doesn't. That's the clear point about the debates. But the reality is this election is a clear choice. It's a clear choice between the coalition, who are lowering people's taxes, who are strengthening the Australian economy so that record amounts can be spent on infrastructure and on schools and on hospitals and on roads, and the Labor Party, who have $387 billion of higher taxes and a record where they cannot manage money, and so they end up coming after yours. Every single spending promise that Bill Shorten makes is because of higher taxes. He is funding everything on the back of retirees, on the back of investors in our housing market, on the back of workers who want to work a few extra hours or an extra shift or an extra day. They're going to get taxed more under Bill Shorten. We've laid out a plan for lower taxes. We're implementing our policies, our legislative policies for lower taxes. We're backing small business and we're backing families. And we're getting energy prices down and childcare costs coming down. That's our record. Bill Shorten and Labor are only interested in higher taxes and lining the pockets of their union mates.
Specifically, what is the coalition's plan for the first 100 days after the election? What would be your major priority in terms of major decisions and legislation?
Well, obviously the first thing we want to get through the parliament is the tax plan that we announced in the budget. And that tax plan will see $1,080 into the pockets of Australians earning up to $126,000. That's a very significant tax initiative from us. We want a couple with a teacher and a tradie, $60,000, earning $60,000 each. We want them to get $2,160 in their pocket in just 10 weeks' time to meet the monthly mortgage or the quarterly energy bill or the yearly car insurance premium. We've got $100 billion of infrastructure spending, including boosting the Urban Congestion Fund to $4 billion. And I was really pleased yesterday to be joining my colleagues Chris Cruther and Alan Tudge in Melbourne to announce that we were funding $300 million of new commuter car parks, because we want people to get to work earlier and we want them to get home safer and sooner to be with their families around the dinner table. We have priorities right across apprenticeships, 80,000 new apprenticeships, across infrastructure, across hospitals and schools, and of course across taxes. They're going to be our priorities. And as we've made very clear, we're not content with the 1.3 million new jobs that we've created since we've come to government. We have set ourselves a target of 1.25 million new jobs going forward over the next 5 years. And given the opportunity by the Australian people, we will get to work on day one.
Can you explain how pensioners are affected by Labor's franking credit policy when the ALP says they'll be exempt?
Well, that's just a lie. So quite clearly, if you were a pensioner before the 28th of March last year, and then you get a self-managed super fund after that date, you're hit by the Labor Party. If you have a self-managed super fund before the 28th of March 2018 and become a pensioner after that date, you're hit by the Labor Party. But it's not just the pensioners. It's the more than 1 million retirees who have done nothing wrong. Over 80% of them have taxable income under $37,000. These are not wealthy people. You see, Chris Bowen last night had the gall to say it's welfare for the rich. You know, it's not welfare for the rich at all. This is a policy the Labor Party supported for 2 decades because it recognised...
Keep watching that on Sky News Extra 1 if you'd like. The Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, speaking all about...